welcome to the Pop Shop Podcast. This is episode 22, and I am feigning some enthusiasm. I was looking back. I always look back at the channel to see what episode we're on before I introduce it, because I've said the wrong one before, as usual listeners will know. Yeah. So now I always make a point to double check, but I've seen in the thumbnail that I'm wearing the same T-shirt, so it looks like I've just been here for a week. Just absolutely sitting him on filth, just with a bottle of whiskey. That's the saddest. I guess, hey, I'm a writer now. I'm living up to the stereotype, just sitting in his office in his own filth, getting absolutely pissed,
getting hammered.
Listen, work for Stephen King, right? Yeah, so this is episode 22 of the Pop Shop Podcast. It's a late one tonight, so thank you, lads, for joining us. I'm joined by Jared. We haven't seen Jared since the New York trip.
I'm walking here.
He's walking here. He's podding here. So this topic episode for this topic is going to be Jared's big trip and
New York City.
Pop culture in NYC. So our favourite films set in New York and games and shit. We're also joined by the glorious, fabulous, always amazing Christopher. How you doing, mate?
Fabulous. Knackered, but fabulous.
I'm too. Well, at least we're on the same boat. We're all operating at the same level. We're all a bit hazy.
We're all here.
Not quite here, but yeah, we're all here. What was that Joaquin Phoenix film? You Were Never Really Here? Yeah, that's this podcast.
That's us.
We
should all wear sunglasses just to.
He had serious mental illness in that film, so we probably shouldn't compare ourselves to that. But hey, Anyway, on that note, let's start battering in, boys, because we've got some news items. We've not wrapped up the news this week. We've kind of it's been quite a quiet week, to be honest. And even the stuff that we're talking about is somewhat speculative. However, the first one is probably the most kind of guaranteed to happen at this point. It's been kind of spoke about it over the last few days that Harrison Ford is going to be playing Thunderbolt Ross in the Thunderbolts TV show, and is it New World Order as well?
Yes, apparently Captain America.
Yeah,
Ford.
Obviously, R.I.P. William Hurt. He passed away. He was a great Thunderbolt Ross, and they have decided to recast him because obviously the character must be integral to the story. Otherwise, I guess they wouldn't bother recasting him. What do you make of the casting, and what do you make of the fact to recast the character, and what do you make of Harrison Ford, Jared?
Well, I think it's Harrison Ford has confirmed it now with these actions. Star Wars is shite and Marvel's class.
I know.
Chris, that he's jumped shit.
We were talking about this earlier. It's weird, yeah, because they show. I kind of had a feeling with Chadwick that it might have been that it was so tragic and he was so young. Look, anyone dies, it's tragic, but obviously he was young and unexpected. And again, William Hurt was young too, relatively, so. I think they might have just reacted to the Chadwick thing, and I don't know exactly, but I've heard there's a lot of people talking about there's certain kind of movements of people saying of African American people saying recast him, and even just the thought that he's such a great character and a role model, look what the first film did, you could recast him. I don't think anyone would be, whatever, too pushed about that. So, and Dan, you were saying it's a bit different now that they just recast William Hurt. But I think maybe that's it. Maybe, he was older. I don't know what the reason was. Maybe they just wanted Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford, as you were saying, seems a bit old, but yeah. I don't know.
I think that the difference as well is General Ross wasn't a main character. He was never going to get his own movie or his own, whereas Black Panther had its, Chadwick's that was his film, So I guess that's the difference. Thunderbolt Ross is more like a tertiary character, a kind of side character, whereas Black Panther was arguably a main character. He's part of the Avengers and whatever. So I guess that's the difference. Chris, what did you think?
Do you think it's going to be a one and done thing?
Well, that's what Jared said.
That's what I said, but it's 1 and 2 now.
Because
I just, first of all, I don't.
2 could be a good way to. Oh no, they killed General Ross. General Thunderbolt Ross.
I feel like if you're going to recast a character, why do it for just one movie? It seems,
especially with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and also Marvel. Exactly, when Marvel get their claws into a big name, they're probably not going to let them go for a while. That's just Marvel's kind of mentality, I think, at this point.
But just hearing the 2 projects that it is now, like he can only do so much. So I wouldn't be surprised. It would actually kind of make sense if New World Order is just like we're fucking taking over the government or blah blah blah. He could just be. You're like, yeah, I'll do 2, but kill me.
I think it would be odd to see Harrison Ford kind of get shot in the movie, and it's like, and they're all upset 'cause it's like, oh, General Ross, and it's like, well, he's not General Ross, it's Harrison Ford. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I can see myself feeling that emotional kind of loss or connection with that character if he gets killed because he's been recast. I don't know. It's not like when Han Solo died. Do you know what I mean? That was different. He was Han Solo, whereas he's not General Ross. So if you bring him in, kill him, I don't know if it'll feel a bit disconnected.
Yes.
But would you really care if General Ross, the character, was killed off? Were you that endeared by him?
I like William Hurt.
I William Hurt, but the characters. Well, I guess it's gonna.
Because he's the guy that turns into the Red Hulk, isn't he?
In the comics, yeah.
Comics, yeah. And
So,
his mustache disappears for like the first year, and then
do you
it comes
think
back.
that will happen? Like, because like it's kind of could be like the Robert Downey Jr. thing where he just is in the kind of the green screen for basically all the movie.
But the Hulks are mainly CGI stuff.
So here's
like it's based on an actual person. It's not. There's still acting to it. Like it's not just.
So here's what I don't
voice.
understand. What you just said there about Hulk being CGI. They have the technology now to bring actors back from the dead. They've done it with.
We have the technology. We can rebuild.
They've done it with Peter Cushing, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill. Like Disney have done it a bunch of times. Why? Well, to be fair, maybe William Hurt's family didn't want to do that. They also have the final say. That could be the reason. But I'm like, why not keep William? Why not keep the character alive, even though the actor's passed away, using the deep fake AI stuff, and then you could also transition that into Red Hulk, and then you could even have, he's turned into Red Hulk and he can't turn back, and then there you go. You don't need to use the William Hurt likeness anymore. You've just got Red Hulk. I don't know. Or
but you're still.
The alternative is, if you're going to recast it anyway, I would have recasted a younger actor and aged him up a bit. Someone a bit more, no offense to Harrison Ford, he's still in good shape for his age and all the rest of it, but someone that can do stunts, someone that's a bit more, athletic, and then do the Red Hulk thing. It feels weird to me to go with an actor who's, for all intents and purposes, at the end of his career. I feel bad saying this because I love Harrison Ford and it's a bit morbid, but in realistic terms, how long is he going to be able to do this job, in our 10 years? It's, I don't know. And then, I mean, we're talking New World Order's, 2025, 2026? So that's already like 4 years down the road. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know.
2024.
I don't know. I hate to say it because I don't want to talk about, an icon passing away, but I just think it's a weird decision.
He'll be 82 by the time the film comes out, at least.
Listen, Robert Redford done a great job in Winter Soldier, and he's in his 80s. It's not. Doesn't stop people.
Different character would have been interesting.
Doesn't stop what they can do, but I don't know. I just find it. I'm not mad at it. I love Harrison Ford. More General Ross. It's an interesting character. I'm not pissed off. I'm not. I just think it's surprising. I'm just quite surprised.
One thing is, it's going to, like, usually the Thunderbolt Ross, in my memory, he's only like kind of maybe in 5 minutes of screen time or something each movie or something like that. This is clearly he's going to be maybe a major character in this one. Or a villain or something like that. I don't know. And they'll have to kill him because he's turned bad or something. Like maybe
I could see him just like playing him for 2 and just never showing up again. Like he's General Ross, whatever, he's been the Red Hulk, but he's never been like, oh, fuck, Galactus is coming. General Ross, what do you think? Like he shows up with the Hulk, and he probably shows up more in the MCU than he does in comics outside of. He shows up, well, I guess because there is no Hulk films. That's probably why. But he probably shows up more in comics. He's mostly just a Hulk. He didn't fuck all else. He might show up for a panel and something.
I also think, did they not tease the? Remind me again, who is the female Red Hulk in the comics? Because did they not tease something like that in She-Hulk?
What's his love interest? No, I think she offhand just mentioned it. She offhand mentioned Red Hulk. I don't even know if she meant female Hulk.
I just wonder.
It's Betty, or Hulk's girlfriend.
I wonder if the way around it would be to have Harrison Ford just play human General Ross and then do do a female version of Red Hulk, and then you can still do the Red Hulk storylines that he appears in. Because as I'm currently writing, I've actually wrote it, a video essay about the rights for the Incredible Hulk. So like how how NBC had the rights back in the day, and then it went to Universal, and then eventually, the whole Marvel deal. We got one movie with Norton, and then now they can use him, but not in a movie with the Hulk's name on it. It has to be in a movie that's called Avengers or Thor Ragnarok or whatever. That deal expires next year. That Universal deal in 2023 goes back to Marvel 100%, so they can make a Hulk movie or a Hulk show. So I wonder if they're going to do either the Red Hulk story or the World War Hulk story. They can use the Red Hulk character, I guess. But I don't know. It's just prediction. But
that's interesting.
We may be too far along the timeline for you to be making that prediction.
Based on She-Hulk?
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay. But we'll get to She-Hulk.
I won't specifically say what it is, but
I think I know what you're saying. Without spoiling anything, I did say World War Hulk.
You'd be spoiling it.
I didn't say the other one. I said World War Hulk, which is the one. We
shouldn't talk about it.
We'll get into spoilers later.
Because you haven't seen it. You like spoilers?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't dislike spoilers. I'm fine. Whatever. I don't bother me.
Yeah. I'd like to review it, but I'll get around what I want to say.
Right. So Harrison Ford, General Ross. Are you happy? Would you change it? Are you glad that the character's back?
It's not really a massive for me.
Do you care?
I didn't really care about it. I didn't care at all. With Harrison Ford's name, it's obviously. I mean, it might have just been saying, "I'm going to go for a cash grab. I'm only going to be here for 5 minutes. Kill me." It might be that.
But he won't have much. He'd be as Chris was saying. He'd be his scenes will amount to
just stand
6 minutes
in a corridor.
6 minutes of screen time. If New World Order is out in 2025 and whenever Thunderbolts is out, they're out in 4 years, but he'd be shooting them next year.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can do a couple to be 5 minutes in a film, he could be Harrison Ford. Here, Harrison, will you just come in and fucking phone it in? Just be Harrison. Come in for 5 minutes and
stand there.
Be Harrison Ford. We'll make you're amazing.
He could retire before those films are even out, and it wouldn't matter. If he films these scenes and then just I'm done with acting, before the film's even out, it's a possibility.
And again, he literally is the pro. He'd probably be able to go in there and just be like, bang, 5 minutes, big fucking load of cash. He could shoot 6 films appearances in the next year, easily. Well,
or do you think he's found a new love of enthusiasm because he's done Indy 5 and he's like, yes, let's get back at the acting? Or is he still depressed?
I think Marvel's just the superior nerddom.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I love Harrison Ford's energy. When we get
disdain for Star Wars,
just disdain for pop culture, just the fact that he hates being asked dumb questions, that and he hates Comic Cons and he hates the whole fan base. And I just think it's amazing.
What the fuck are you asking me?
Yeah, we'll get to John Carpenter because he's the other man I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah,
but if I can't be John Carpenter, then I want to be Harrison Ford when I'm old because he's just got that energy.
There's something very similar that Harrison Ford was asked a question. Are you a Force ghost? So I know what the fuck you're talking about.
It's so good.
Because I think we do get those
moments.
Lovely old boomers just going what the fuck, here, fuck off,
With that news, let's move on to the next piece. So remember the Naked Gun movies with Leslie Nielsen, those absolute comedy classics? Well, they're rebooting them because it's the age of the reboot and everything's going to get rebooted. So who do you replace the immeasurable Leslie Nielsen with? Apparently it's Liam Neeson. The rumour is that one of the guys from Lonely Island is, I don't know if he's writing it, but he's at least directing this Naked Gun reboot.
So, yeah.
And it's going to star Liam Neeson as Frank Drebin. What are your thoughts?
I'm immediately. Do you know? Did anybody ever watch the Ricky Gervais?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yes.
Life
Short.
Life Short, and it's
he was really funny.
He's an actor.
Yeah, he was funny.
It was funny, but you could tell. It's he needs to be really guided for that. I don't know if it would.
Well, is that the whole point of that scene, that he wasn't funny?
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't funny. It was just basically dry as hell.
To be fair, See, I don't know. I've got mixed thoughts. Personally, I wish they'd just leave it alone. Like, I love those films; they're absolute comedy classics. Leslie Nielsen, like I said, no one compares to what he did in those movies. But I do think that character has to be played with some sort of straightness, some sort of naivety to the actual comedy that's happening. And Liam Neeson not being a comedic actor, it might make sense. And you also need to remember, Leslie Nielsen was a straight actor for a lot of years up until Airplane. Airplane was his first comedy, and then he became one of the comedy icons. So, but I would rather didn't. I'd rather just didn't bother. Jared,
well, he's been doing more stuff that, like, I might have mentioned it to you in the chat. It's in real life. It's been out an X amount of time. I won't say what it is, but he appears in a TV show, and you're not going to expect him to be there, and he's there.
Okay, yeah,
and it's great.
Yeah,
so don't even if you know it.
That was
funny. Don't even. So that was played whatever way.
Right, okay.
Sympathetically sanity. Because maybe not everyone has seen it, but like, if you don't know about it, it's way better that you just see him in the show that he's in. Without saying much, he's been acting on a hell of a lot more. Like, we haven't seen him do comedies, but we hadn't seen him do the type of action films he was doing like 20 years ago. And again, like that Ricky Gervais scene that was ages ago was probably put together really quickly. He could have been directed badly.
You also need to remember
Ricky Gervais, but
Liam Neeson, whether you like him or not, he's an actor that's kind of reinvented himself already. Like, he was kind of an Oscar-baited drama actor for a lot of years, and then he made Taken, and all of a sudden he became this dad fantasy action star. And
he'd taken a turn.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was incredible at the action stuff. Well, I know that Taken 3 had like 40 cuts for him to jump a fence, but that's the first Taken's great, right? But
really?
Yeah. There's a bit where he jumps a fence. There's about 30 cuts in like a 2-second scene. Anyway, no, I actually wrote a bit of a review of something about that, but I'm not going to say it here because it delves into the thing we were talking about before the podcast. Anyway, I'll tell you about it after. So, yeah, the whole Liam Neeson thing, reinvent himself. I don't think it's beyond him. He's a talented actor. He's like Harrison Ford. He's been doing it for a long time. He's pro, but I don't know, man. Like, Naked Gun's just so sacred, right? It's like,
is he going to go white hair? Do you think he's going to like copy?
Nah, I think he'll just go. Maybe, but he went white hair for the A-Team. He did go white hair for the A-Team, so he might.
I think he could, like, see, even though he was like from that Ricky Gervais thing, I came in strong saying he's shite. But
I can't believe that story too much. Like, that's the whole point of the scene.
You came in hot.
Oh my god, he's not funny at all. Did you think it was like a documentary or something?
I was like, he won me over when he's acting there.
It's shot like a documentary, but it isn't like it. Sorry.
I bought it.
Did you watch The Office, the American Office?
I never watched the American one though, but definitely UK. No, but I'm game for it. If it does good, like, I'm hopefully, if more Naked Gun, that's fine. But I was going to say it's kind of the same thing with Harrison Ford, because sometimes Jakey's going to do like action scenes, because I think in the Naked Gun they were deliberate to do action scenes, and it was like a stunt double with a wig on.
Yeah, they done it purposely, obviously. Yeah.
I think they should do that and like get like a Taken guy or something.
I think I'm going to go and watch Naked Gun tonight. That's a great. Those three movies.
Not a bad one, yeah. Some horror.
Weird O.J. Simpson's in it right enough. But hey.
Yeah. Oh, now it's out of ages, so Nope. OJ.
Yeah. The name.
Yeah.
His name. Yeah.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I Double Toast that I follow mentioned it's talking about it. It was kind of saying about like they're working in the like entertainment industry, and then I don't know, it's kind of comparing it to OJ, like the spectacle, that kind of thing of everybody watching and whatever. Side note, but yeah, I just thought it was an interesting thing because when they get like, "What's your name?" OJ. I was like, "Oh, right," and you could just tell you didn't need any backstory. You're like, he was probably named when OJ Simpson wasn't.
Yeah. Wait,
dodgy body. Yeah. Or like a star athlete, like, so it's just You maybe just don't change people's names. That probably definitely happens, and it's just. But you just got that just introduced themselves. You're like, oh fuck, that's smart. I didn't get the spectacle thing that was someone else who was talking about that, but yeah. Sorry, sidebar.
Anything else on Liam Neeson? I mean, I guess we're all kind of mixed on it.
Yeah, well, look, we kind of, as you were saying, like we were talking about before, there is a bit of controversy there. I don't know exactly. Like, has he been in anything since then?
Oh, yeah.
Apart from Star Wars?
The other show you mentioned has been since then.
Oh, yeah. But I guess I'm not fully aware of the reception of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's something harder to discuss if, like, I don't know an awful lot of people who know it too. So, like, yeah. No, I've not on Liam Neeson, other. No.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see. It's a Lonely Island person. Like they're usually.
I'm not a fan.
I think they're pretty good. Well, there's three of them.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Yeah, I've seen them.
Not a fan, Jack.
Oh, that took a turn for the worse. He's dead violent. Nah, I'm not a fan of them. He's looking down at the mic. And fucking, he's going to rehearse the.
I guess you could say I threw it on the ground.
That's a classic song of theirs.
Okay, so let's move on to what I think is more potentially brighter news. John Carpenter has been saying for a while, but he's reiterated it recently that he wants to make a Dead Space movie. Obviously, the remake of Dead Space is coming out in January, so I assume he was probably prompted because that upcoming release kind of thing. But he's like, yeah, I would absolutely still be up for doing that. And I reckon, I know John Carpenter, you can maybe say that his best is behind him, you can maybe say, but
yeah,
I would also say that guy, there's just something about John Carpenter's sci-fi horror which is just special, and there's something about the sci-fi horror of Dead Space which is special, and that marriage I think would just be, if they can nail the tone and the sort of environment and the character design, and they can bring in John Carpenter to bring the horror, bring the scares, I think that film would be incredible. What do you think? Chris, what would you think of that?
No, I was in the mindset of these best years are behind him. Like, I was thinking, what has he actually directed since? But see if he wrote it. Like, see when you look at Dead Space as the game, I'm thinking the first one. Like, the first one would be the proper story you would probably go. You wouldn't go into the more action.
It's the most John Carpenter, the first one, I'd say.
Yeah, I would say that. Like, there was no.
He also.
I don't think there was any dialogue like Isaac. So, like, he could be like a silent body horror, like The Thing. You could bring that to it, you know?
Well, yeah, like you're saying, The Thing has a lot of quiet scenes. There's not that much dialogue in the actual script of The Thing. So, yeah, that sort of silence, that deafening silence could definitely carry across. And again, that kind of atmosphere from The Thing could also carry across.
Do you think he would be writing it or both and directing it, or do you think he would just be like kind of? I think he was in Halloween Kills or something like that. He was just kind of
I reckon that's why he probably a co-writer. Although the guy does know his stuff. Like John Carpenter, even though he's a man of a certain age, and you might not expect it, he's a big gamer. He loves games. He spoke.
Is he?
He spoke about it before. He loves especially. He spoke about Resident Evil and horror games, and he spoke about like things like.
Oh really?
Yeah. He loves.
In an interview.
More than once. Like I'm pretty sure. Yeah, if you just Google John Carpenter gaming or video games, I'm sure you'll get some stuff. But
does he do a game review podcast?
That would be. Oh my, please
make that live stream.
If anyone's listening,
making all these bad sounds.
John Carpenter, I would absolutely listen to every single episode of that. Yeah, because just before we get to Jared's thoughts, there was an interview fairly recently, maybe a couple of years ago. He was at a con. He was at some sort of Comic-Con thing. Talk about grumpy old people that hate their fans. And someone, to be fair, the question was cheeky. The person says to him, Escape from New York was an incredible film. What happened with Escape?
Oh, yeah.
What happened with Escape from LA? And he goes, fuck you. It's so good. It's amazing. And I'm like, mate, you're my hero. That is the energy that all old creators should have. Yeah, I love grumpy old John Carpenter. Jared, do you like this idea? What do you think?
Like, to be honest with you, of course I've seen John Carpenter films. I've seen, let me think, top of my head. Like some of his films I'm not even sure are his, but Halloween. I thought someone said to me recently he directed Event Horizon. I was like, really?
No.
And I just looked it up, and it's that fucking Resident Evil guy.
Yeah.
Paul Des Anderson.
Yeah.
I thought that film was really good.
Yeah, he got shit after that.
That's really good, and he just got shit after. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, Night of the Living Dead, or did he just do the music for that?
So he directed They Live. He directed Escape from
Did
New
not like
York.
that.
He directed The
Love that.
Thing. He
Love that.
directed. I'm having a look here.
He wrote The Fog.
He directed Big Trouble in Little
I'm not-
China, right?
Wrote and directed. Like, did he? Yeah, I think so. Was there something else that was kind of like really?
That the original Assault on Precinct 13, which is also a great film,
I must watch that.
directed by him. So yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. The Thing, Escape
Did
from New
he
York.
direct Oh, this is. I'm in
He
the
directed the
soundtrack now.
Elvis
Sorry.
TV movie where Kurt Russell played Elvis. That wasn't great, to be fair. But yeah, he's directed.
Oh God.
He's directed some
Ah,
classics.
look.
Like They Live,
The Thing, Halloween.
Big
I
Trouble in
watched
Little China,
Halloween.
like
I've only seen that once. I must watch that again.
It's a weird movie, but it's very creative.
It's basically what Taika Waititi was. I don't want to say it, just go straight up and be like, "Fucking hate Taika Waititi." Now it's like it was his main inspiration for Ragnarok. You probably talked about that. He left Thor.
Who left off?
Thor. Taika.
All right, yeah.
Not Doom 5. Getting sidetracked. Carpenter, I think he's great. I'm trying to see a film that he's done recently. I don't know. Fuck it, yeah.
What was the last thing
great.
he worked on? Let's have a wee look. I'm on his IMDb right now. He directed. He's not really done much. He directed The Ward in 2010.
Yeah, in 2010.
The Ward is a movie. Yeah, that was the last thing he done. 2010.
And was there actual like wheels in motion for him to make a Dead Space thing, or is it just something that he's mentioned more than once?
I think he said. I think he was getting asked about like what he thinks of like current horror, like when the first Dead Space was out, or maybe the second Dead Space. He was getting asked what he thinks about like horror in the current day, in like a podcast or an interview, and he just said, "Oh, I really like Dead Space games." He's like, obviously he plays games, and he was like, "I love the Dead Space series." And someone was like, "Oh, if they ever did a movie, would you be interested?" And he was like, "Ah, absolutely, I'd have a go." So I think that's when it was first mentioned, and then like I said, because of the new remakes coming out, he's been asked again about it. So.
Okay.
Dead Space came out. The first one came out in 2008, so it's probably around the same time he done the Ward.
He was probably promoting that movie, yeah, probably.
And he was probably thinking, "Oh, you could do the Dead Space movie." It's quite. I think you could do that because John Carpenter does films quite cheap. You know, you could do that fairly cheaply. You know, a Dead Space if you could
Space
do it
movie.
Really yeah, like,
I also
just be like in one room.
I do also think. See, when you think about kind of acclaimed horror directors, I think that Dead Space has a kind of retro vibe to it. Even in 2008, it called back to the Resident Evil game, the first one, which was the 90s, and it called back to a lot of kind of, I don't know, just kind of dated, like almost like the Thing, like 80s and 70s sci-fi horror.
It's space thing, even though the Thing is from space, but
it's also a bit like The Fly, the way that the monsters transform from humans into these grotesque things. You know, it's a bit The Fly, it's a bit Cronenberg. I do think that if you were going to do it, I would try and go for either a John Carpenter, a David Cronenberg, a Sam Raimi, someone that's a kind of classic from that era, maybe.
Imagine
maybe James Cameron
and Sam Raimi.
And James Cameron's doing Avatar for the next 40 years. He's
not. I go Cameron. That's who that'd be
really.
But I guess that's just like I'll just make Alien again, basically.
And you can see Neil Blomkamp because District 9, but he's. I still want to see his Alien film. I would rather that, but I'd still take a Neil Blomkamp Dead Space. But yeah,
I saw an article come up there. It's like Neil Blomkamp says Alien 5 won't interfere with the prequels, and I was like, how old is this article? It was from 2015. I was like, why am I seeing this? Like,
it'll be because you watched the Oates thing. That'll be why you're seeing it.
Yeah, no, because I think I was on something else.
No.
But I'll definitely talk about that.
I was like, the algorithm's got you, mate. Yeah. Any more news items you just want to talk about, or anything else you want to say about what we already spoke about, or do you want to move on?
The little bit of a thing I saw earlier, Sacha Baron Cohen being rumored to be Mephisto in Marvel's Satan.
I love that idea, but I think it is kind of speculation at the minute. To be fair, that's how the Harrison Ford thing started out. You know,
everything recently has been speculation. Oh no, it's actually true.
And then IGN or GameSpot report it, and it's like, oh, it's true.
Yeah. Because I think I'm not. Even if I was subconsciously recognizing it, I think I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I just have a feeling in my head that I'm like, it's the same site that was reporting the Harrison Ford stuff. I don't know. I somehow follow loads of Brazilian MCU pages, and I'm like, I have to translate them. And I'm like, what? I don't know how it started, but like, it's good.
After there's truth to it, would you be happy with that casting?
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
I mean, Eddie would play the devil. Yeah, be great.
Do you think that do you think Marvel was going down that route, or do you think they were surprised by the amount of interest with WandaVision about?
Yeah, I'd say they take heed of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
They never planned to do
They probably did vaguely, but I reckon they maybe accelerated it based on that. Or, maybe.
He maybe was. I don't even know. Like, it's a tricky one to do because he is Satan, but they don't call him Satan.
But he's Satan in the comics. They could do, they could do more of a generally not Satan type character. They can make him an alien. They can make him, the MCU would change shit. So, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like anytime superheroes mess with supernatural stuff. I'm like, ugh. Like vampires, like Spider-Man fighting a vampire. Like, fuck off. Like, that's no one wants to see that shit, and I've seen it. Okay, Morbius. So yeah, like that's not doing any favors. But like the fact that Dracula exists in the Marvel universe, I'm like, oh come on, like
it's just one of the things though, because he's out of
Blade's good, but then like when Blade's on the Avengers, it's like you're a fucking vampire hunter. Well, I guess Buffy fights other things, but like, actually, but at least Buffy'd come back to it. But Blade in his own comics probably always fighting vampires, but it's even like Werewolf by Night, which I loved, but
we should talk about
that. I don't want a werewolf. Well, werewolves are kind of cooler, but vampires and like more, I don't know.
I don't care. Like we've got aliens and we've got gods. Why not vampires?
I think they have their own wee universal universe now. Like they could make a Wolfman.
Well, that's the thing. They'll probably make what's the
vampire?
The Midnight Suns.
We'll get,
which is the closest to Justice League Dark.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to Werewolf by Night, but really it does feel like, when I was watching Werewolf by Night, it really felt like the Universal attempted Dark Universe. It was as if Marvel were coming up going, right, you've had your turn. Give us a Werewolf Man and we'll do it properly.
Stolen, I fucking thought it was amazing. I think we should probably talk about that at a certain point. Are we finished? That was news, so it's a good segue to go to that.
I mean, George, you threatened us with a theme song for this section, but I don't know if you're under too much pressure to perform.
Oh, right. This is for when we're watching stuff. What did I say earlier?
I had no idea, man. It was something about news and reviews, the pop shop.
Well, no, that was like for the overall podcast.
Oh, was that the section?
So this is news and reviews. Okay.
Shit, you've been watching. I don't know.
Give me a second. I'll come up with it.
Okay.
Now it's a bit of silence for Dan, so you can.
No, I'm going to keep talking, so I don't need to edit this out. That's what I always do at these points. Even when you're looking something up, I'm like,
so you can edit it in to use as the theme song.
Well, no,
if you're talking
after this point, I'm not going to keep all this in the theme song. It means insane.
That's what I'm saying. Stop talking so I can sing. If you stop talking, I'll sing, and then it can be the theme song for the news and reviews. Okay.
There you go.
It's silence.
What count you in?
Yes.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
News and reviews. It's the news and reviews. It's the news and what you've been viewing.
I like to falsetto.
I
like to falsetto.
Tom Jones would be
I'm not using that. That's a one done, man. I'm not.
For all that, man, that's ridiculous. Now wasn't embarrassed before, but I'm embarrassed now. Didn't need to be like. I was like, oh, this will just be the thing. I'll put my heart and soul into it. No.
His cheeks are gone red. You can see.
Is that what that was? Yeah. So we're gonna just batter in and talk about Werewolf by Night because that was recent and we've not spoke about it because we didn't record last week. How great was Werewolf by Night? Right? Was that just me? Like that was
fan-fucking-tastic.
I've not watched it, so I'm quite interested.
Just get on it, man.
Thoughts of it?
Do you like classic horror, like the old kind of black?
I do. I love classic
Universal stuff.
At the time.
Mate, this is bang up your street.
Do you like gory?
Oh, is it gory?
Yeah,
gets there.
Really? Yeah, I mean, it's not John
Carpenter gory, but there's a kill in there with a sword I never saw before. I thought it was fucking class. And from the 6-week, you know those plastic. You ever see those guys with plastic swords and they like spar each other? I did a training course in that. It was like German longsword, and your man just like at the start. It was pretty cool. Like your man at the start of it. Like I went a couple of times. He learned a couple of swings, very end you do a sparring match with someone who's experienced. This big massive fella. It's like I was like running and I kind of ducked, and then he like got me with the sword in the ass, and it was like didn't cut me obviously, but it was very sore.
I did a fencing thing when I was like 12, and it was like a tournament, and I won.
Oh yeah,
I won the fencing competition.
Jesus.
So apparently I have a hidden talent for sword fighting. I've not touched the sword since I was 12 years old, but when I was that age, I was shit hot, man.
You were brilliant.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I actually like to give that a go. That's a bit of crack. I'd be probably really panicky though. Not like just that.
That doesn't hurt. It just feels like someone's poking you when you get stabbed.
Oh, I guess.
Like
Yeah.
Anyway,
You learn some of the stuff. Sorry, long point to that. In that course, they taught us like how they actually would use swords. So like, the lads are obviously just sword nerds. So like, say that's the handle bit. Let me see. Try and replicate this. The hilt, yeah.
Yep.
Jeez, we're like fucking Braveheart now. All the Scots and an Irish guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe we should talk about the Brits actually later on. Bit of news came up there. Fucking thoughts.
The hilt of the
sword. So your man kind of said like they would sometimes say if that's the T of the sword, they'd sometimes like ram the sword in there or like use the handle and shit, or they'd like try and get the handle and the sword in there, and then you just like push it in and fucking like. So there wasn't something exactly like that, but there was something that kind of like, and also the idea that you don't really see in films. Swords are you cut with a sword like this. So like there would be moves where I can't even operate a pen, never mind a sword. There'd be moves like where you'd put the sword on them and then you just fucking pull it down. You'd actually cut them there. So there was something in that. It's not exactly either of those two things, but maybe a mixture of both in thing with a sword. I was like, fucking hell.
I like that arrow wrist thing. That was cool.
Oh, he got off the guy. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm even thinking of that guy. Like, shit happens.
Yeah.
Shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that happens. But it's kind of like without context. Yeah.
No, definitely. Spoil away.
No, don't spoil too much, Chris.
No need to. It's great.
The only other thing sorry, Chris, on you go.
No, I was going to say, is it not? See the director. I read something. Michael Gian.
Yeah, he's a music guy, composer.
He's a composer, so this is his first directing gig.
It is.
Yes.
And is it great? Like, and the fact that
mate,
first gig,
right,
it's amazing.
Right.
Crazy.
Let me pitch something to you. So Michael Giacchino, he's obviously into his pop culture media. He's an incredible composer. He composed the Batman and No Way Home, amongst other things.
He composed the Marvel fanfare, which is the thing that plays at the start of every film now,
cool.
which used to be different. You know, I fucking love that. But yeah, I only found that out the last day.
So the guy's an incredible composer. Apparently, he's a great director. Blade has fallen apart and lost a director, and they're looking for someone. Why not draft in Michael Giacchino, right? Marvel have already pretty much got the rights to that guy's talents. Why not draft him in? I don't know. It just makes sense to me.
Oh, that's a no-brainer.
Well, as I was saying, I'd say if he was able to make them movements in Marvel, I don't know. I'd have to assume he directed small things by himself.
Oh yeah,
like, I can't imagine. Like this has to be. I think I heard something about him making films as a kid, but like I think he must have had to been doing it in such a way that he had time to do it. I don't know. Maybe like look, people probably do it, but like to make a film that good for your first go, like he obviously had help, but I wouldn't say it's that. I think it's far more down to him.
Composing two incredible scores over the last 6 months, like for huge movies, and he's
he's a talented thing, but like, and I'm sure a lot of that because he's a composer, he works with people, so he like a lot of those skills are transferable. But like I'd have to just in my head, I'm like, what kind of shit was he making when it wasn't actually a big professional budget? And if he got that job with Marvel, I would say he's probably been in meetings since before this. Well, maybe not since before it was announced, but he's been angling at this for a while to get a chance directing. I don't think he's just like, oh, maybe I'll direct now. I'd say there's certain things that were deals he could already be making, or at least interesting stuff that he would have been making on the side for the crack.
He has three directing credits, something called Monster Challenge, which was a short film in 2018, a Star Trek short called Star Trek Short Treks. He directed an episode of that in 2019, again another short. But this was his first kind of almost not feature length, but his first significant,
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
proper directing gig.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. He must, like, I'd say you could probably find him pretty interesting YouTube. Well, maybe not, but in my head, I'm just thinking of him maybe just whittling away on films over the years, his own things.
Do you think Marvel just like gave him a like they weren't going to release this film if it was rubbish, but they were thinking go and try your shot.
That was announced a long time ago. I think.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
There's X amount. Like, I don't think he wrote it. He would have had, like, Marvel would boost, like, Marvel mostly take on indie directors, and you do the drama stuff, we'll do the action. So, like, he would have had help either way. Not to take it away from him. It is fantastic. But
is it short? Is it short and sweet?
It's like 50 minutes.
An hour.
Yeah, an
hour 5 maybe.
Which I love. I want them to do more stuff like this. Like,
apparently it's in the works.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, the Black Panther thing is now a short.
Somebody mentioned
a special.
Now again, I could just be like going away with the fairies with the fucking rumors and stuff. And it's going like, oh yeah, that's true.
Yes.
I'd write something down in my copy. Yeah, that's true. But I think I saw somewhere that there's rumors, and now look, might be come to nothing, that they could be aiming for that for the X-Men.
All right. Wow.
Now I literally just saw that today while I was working, but also on my break.
I heard that what's it called? The Wakanda. There was going to be a Wakanda Disney Plus series, and apparently it's now been changed from a series to a special, a one-off.
Yeah. Like, look, they've shown how popular they can be. They don't have to, like. There's no point stretching something out just for the sake of it.
Yep.
Something's going to feels more like a TV show. Fine, make a TV show. But, like, I'm sure that's like as someone was saying today, like, comics, you get one-shot comics. Like, what was I reading? I was telling you about his Marvel Zombies book comic I was reading, where it was like just Elseworlds, what if, but more Elseworlds. It's just like, it's not a big. What if this happened? It's just like fucking zombies. Like, that's it.
That's what you should have called it. Fucking zombies.
Fucking zombies. That's it.
Is it because of the whole 90-minute thing? Like, is that because theaters is that like give me a history lesson here? Is this because theaters would say, right, you need to give an hour and a half for each movie?
No,
and that's what happens. Or
it's based apparently on a CBS, because the intro music, which is done by Giacchino, I'm hoping
he composed this as well.
Yeah, but the intro music at the start is a play on this CBS thing where they used to have like Halloween specials, fucking Christmas specials. Could be in my headspace of obviously not having watched American TV. But like, you kind of just picture the way it was in America. In my head, it's like that's where you might get like a fucking singer Bing Crosby Christmas special kind of thing, or it could be a short film, or it could be a fucking Scrooge, whatever. Or it's Halloween, it's something else. Right. So I'm not fully sure, but the music at the start of that is done to ape that music. It's like this kind of more jazzy kind of fucking thing.
That's fucking amazing.
You need to watch it, Chris.
Create music, and he also directs it.
It's really impressive. Like the fact that he directed this thing and composed it, and both the direction and the composition and Werewolf by Night is great. It's like,
and he's been knocking them out of the park. Yeah, fucking Marvel. He's Doctor Strange, all the Spider-Mans.
Oh yeah, Pixar movies. He did Up. See the Up theme, classic. Ratatouille.
He did
Incredibles. Like,
what the fuck?
All of them as well.
That's an emotional movie.
Like
that's the thing. I was kind of surprised by that. He like I was. Am I right in thinking that I was surprised? Only I can answer that. But the Marvel fanfare thing, I was like, he's been doing it that long, so he did fucking Up.
Yeah. Oh, he's been working for
Jesus Christ.
He done a lot of Lost. I think it's where I was kind of.
That's the one. That's the one I heard. I was like, what the fuck?
Started on Lost, and then he went to
sorry, just shouting at the computer.
And then he went to Pixar, and then Marvel, and then but I mean, good on him. Like, he deserves all the recognition and praise he's getting because he's very talented. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like what, nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah.
No.
Aye. Yeah.
No, 15. Was it 2006?
Incredibles was 2004.
We're 4 years away from it being shit. Or 4 years? No, that can't be right. Is it?
What?
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking I've been. Yeah, because I'm 5 years away from being 40. Fuck. I was just like, hold on. Was that 20 years ago?
Part of the podcast. 2 years' time, The Incredibles will be 20 years old.
Oh
How
my
does that
God.
make you feel?
Oh God.
That not so much, but literally remember the time I was in college being 20 years ago. I'm like, fuck, that's crazy. I still think that's like 10 years ago. Jesus.
Yeah, let's move
Marvel
on before
timeline.
there's a
Sliding
breakdown.
timeline, yes.
Um, Jared, shall we move on to your next kind of what you've been watching thing because it's Marvel related?
She-Hulk.
How was
There
it?
you go.
How was the last episode and how was the series as a whole? Do you feel?
And I said this to you in chat
Mm.
a couple of nights after watching it, but it's the most comic book like thing Marvel has done.
Okay.
And I think it's a great sign for the future of Marvel.
Wow.
It's so like Zeb Wells. I really look. I'm going to get the fucking show up on IMDb right now because I want to talk about the director also.
I'll ask you a question in the meantime. I've not watched any of it. I don't think Chris has. Are you better? Are you glad you watched it week to week, or do you reckon it's a better show to binge in one go?
It comes across very short.
Mm.
So like I was trying to say to you, I think that's what I was trying to get across to you the last day, but I don't think you picked up. But I was like, it's only 4.5 hours. I was watch it for the podcast is what I meant to say. But yeah, 4.5 hours, man. That's fucking what's
that's an evening of television.
Yeah, it's grand. Like it's a TV show. Because it felt quite short week to week, but the funny thing is, like, I'm now reading the Spider-Man book fortnightly. What I meant to say there was written by Zeb Wells. So he's the writer on the Marvel book now. But he wrote, like, the 7th episode of this entirely by himself.
Nice.
Not that, oh, look at him, he wrote it. But, like, and you know what the worst thing is? IMDb isn't going to break that down for me because even comic book writers, they just put them down as they don't list their comic book credits.
Yeah.
Zeb Wells wrote 1 episode by himself. And there's other writers there. There's Melissa Hunter, Cara Brown, Jacqueline Gillies, Francesca Gillies. Oh, there's a couple of story editors. Cody Ziegler, just giving out names because I've only mentioned Zeb Wells. Jessica Gao, who wrote it all. She's the main head writer.
Mm-hmm.
And the director is...
Did she not direct some of it?
Kat Coiro.
Oh, okay.
And she directed 6 episodes. And then Anu Valia directed 3 episodes. So that makes up the 9, yeah. Sorry, I everywhere I was mentioning, I was like, Zeb Wells is like, he's not the only writer. But like, I wanted to know, actually.
So he wrote a comic name or a production. I like that too.
For the whole episode, like, that's a comic book.
Right.
Because it's like, the episodes are about 25 to 30 minutes long. Comic book can take me much longer to read. Sometimes I just walk around with a comic book under my arm and I won't read it for ages. But like, you read a comic book, especially with his Spider-Man, every time I watch that, I'm like, oh, fuck, it's over. Like, I want to read more. Yeah, comic books are maybe a bit shorter, but, like, you know, feeling-wise. But we never really felt that. Some weeks I did feel that. I was like, oh, fuck, that's it. But I was like, I was in it. I've laughed out loud at it multiple times. You've probably seen the clip of Megan Thee Stallion. I had no idea who she was before. I knew that Body Ollie song. I think that was it. I might have heard a couple of other songs, but now I'm like, there's a bit where like She-Hulk is just like, I will kill for you, Megan Thee Stallion. And then I've seen Megan Thee Stallion with the 1st of October, just had a picture of herself in her house with a pumpkin on her head. And then she was, as you said, struck it on your man. I just think she's amazing. Like, I'm delighted I've learned who Megan Thee Stallion is. But I'm always like, if someone fucks with the Marvel crew, I will support you for life. Like, that's my nerddom for Marvel is not like, oh no, you pump other pops. If someone else like in celebrity shows it appears in a Marvel thing, you're like, I've got your back. Like, I'm your fan now. She's not in it an awful lot, but it was very funny when she was. And then like the twerking scene, it's like, I remember I rewatched it there like a week or 2 after it happened. And I was like, it's 5 seconds long.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
I'd be so like these guys.
I know.
Yeah, the show in plot points. I guess because they were just aware of what happened with Miss Marvel and they know what fans are like, or certain fans. They just like bang, 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 just like calling out shots, and it's like it's not like over the top. It's usually quite lighthearted, but it's like that's it. That plays a part in the show. People were talking about CGI. I never fucking noticed CGI, but like I still think the CGI. I think maybe once or twice. Other times I thought it was good. Like, but I honestly, I'll get into it in a bit. Spider-Man 1, I'm like, that CGI is grand. My brain doesn't pick up on that, I don't think, as much as it does for other things. Like,
I also think you probably settle into it, right? Like when we saw the trailer, it was quite jarring, but after the second episode, you're used to it. Right? It's like
I just think something about my head, it's not something I generally, unless it's shockingly bad. I didn't think this was. I was like, it's a big CGI person. Like, what the fuck do you, like,
Yeah.
I'm not a big, she's bigger, but like, because, but like, yeah, it's just a CGI person. Like, what the fuck do you expect? Like, just, it's not, I don't know, I didn't see the complaints that people were talking about. Very occasionally there's a bit of uncanny valley, but like, didn't bother me at all.
nice.
I did see. I don't know if you want to go into that like in this more of a spoiler way, but I did see. We all know Daredevil was in it, and there was a comparison that I saw. It was like in the Netflix show and the Disney Plus show, and you can see it was more gritty. And it was like, I think he had blood coming from his mouth in the Daredevil one, and he was just kind of jumping about, prancing about. Is it that a true depiction of it, or is it?
Well, not really. You're taking a picture of one of the most, probably a very graphic scene in Daredevil to he's a guest star in a lighter-hearted show. Like,
but was he toned down the way that Kingpin was toned down in Hawkeye? Is it similar to that?
Dramatically,
or
if anything, he's more Daredevil in this,
right?
Because
really,
I can't imagine Daredevil is a moany bastard all the time, like the gritty, like
no,
as people are saying. That's Frank Miller, like, but like even since the Frank Miller stuff came out, he's not always a serious. Like I've seen him going around wearing a t-shirt going, "I am not Daredevil," like, and he's, well, like it's no, like it's our Lord and Savior, fucking Nick Mason from the Weekly Planet mentions about like Spider-Man. He's like, yeah, Spider-Man is, like, in his career has had tragic things happen to him, but they didn't all happen to him in like 2 years. Like, yeah, like normally Spider-Man is like, Tom Holland,
happy go lucky,
them too. Yeah, but like Daredevil isn't always like, it isn't always same with anyone. Like, well,
dark,
not real people, but they're not fucking. It's not always end of the world. It'd be fucking. You'd be sick of it. It wouldn't last.
I agree. I agree that there's more layers to the character than just the dark, gritty version, but I do also think that this is the first proper appearance of him as Daredevil since the Netflix show. So there is, I do think, is a justified comparison.
Massive comparison.
Like, I do think there's, if it is jarringly different, it's going to be noticed. If it's not, then fair enough.
Well, no, you think it's the same guy.
Right.
Like, he's
okay.
been cheery in the fucking Daredevil show too, and like he's as like, 'cause a lot of people are saying like he's away. He's for the fucking weekend. He's in a different town.
I do agree that
having the crack, so he's happy. Like,
a lot of folk are talking online as if Daredevil is the Punisher, and it's like Daredevil's not the Punisher. Like, he's not that dark. Like, yeah,
swashbuckling motherfucker.
Should we get?
No, he's like.
Can we get into some spoilers for Daredevil for She-Hulk? Sorry, because something pretty major I think happens at the end that I kind of want to touch on.
I don't know. Yeah, so like it's.
Chris, you don't care, right?
It's up by a year.
How dare you spoil?
On you go. Spoil for anybody at home that's not seen She-Hulk, go and watch it and come back to this. Or if you don't care,
if you have watched it, go watch their very quick but class fight scene. Just watch it again like 5 times. You'll enjoy it every time.
Enjoy it.
I'd actually want to break that down too. But yeah.
So I'll let you get in the finale in a wee second, in case I've not seen it, so there's not everything. I'm not going to know everything that happens. But one of the major things that happens, I believe, is that it's revealed that Hulk has a son. Hulk has a son with someone on Sakaar, and the son's called Scar, like the Planet Hulk comic book,
right.
and he brings him back to Earth, or he comes to Earth, right? Because I've seen the photo of them standing side by side. What's going on with his hair? The young Hulk. Why does he
alien.
have... What?
He's an alien.
He's an alien? I thought he was a Hulk.
He's
a fucking alien. Like, he didn't go to school in fucking New York. Like.
I guess. I don't know. I just looked dumb.
Like, he went to space. So, like, we're going right into it. Bruce goes to space. As the car ship shows up, that's what causes Jen to get the fucking blood.
So is Bruce not in the majority of the series? Is he one in the very start?
No, he's in like the first episode, and he's maybe a phone call in the second episode.
Okay.
I was And as I was saying to you at the end of the week, like he's barely in the fucking finale either. Like he just shows
I
up
thought he
at
was
the
in
end.
all the way through. Right, okay.
Nope.
Right.
These are clips a lot, but it's a very apparently so it's the first episode is the two of them in like Hulk's shack place, and apparently that was like the second last episode originally, and they're like, oh no, let's fucking bring it up front.
Right.
Yeah, and he's been like it kind of plays into it. I may as well just get into it, but it plays into the joke of it that he shows up at the end out of nowhere.
Right. And
So-
does he fight Abomination? Or was that a fake out?
No.
Right, okay, it's a
Fake
fake out.
Oh, right.
And then also they do the whole thing where they break the fourth wall, right? I've seen the screenshot of her standing in front of the Marvel.
That
logo.
leads to it, yeah.
Right, okay.
So, okay, so Daredevil fight, I have to say it first. He shows up to do a little court scene. It's class. There's, whatever, like, it's well written. It's short and sweet. But Frogman is in it. It's fucking hilarious. This is like, so the whole way through it, I was getting more and more like in the third episode or something. I guess the Megan Thee Stallion episode. There's some fucking shapeshifting elf from an Asgardian, essentially, and she's convincing her ex. I think they may have dated, but you might only say that at the very end of the show, and it's not true. But this guy she used to work with in a different law firm, and he's a prick. But this elf has convinced him that he's dating Megan Thee Stallion.
Okay.
And then, like, it ends up with, like, Jen coming up and going, like, have to confess in court that he's such he's so
Charming.
no, that he's so, like, out of touch with reality that he would believe that he was dating Megan Thee Stallion.
Right.
Mm.
Does she play herself in the show? She's not playing a
Yes.
character? Right, okay.
Yeah, so she's like, Megan Thee Stallion. You see it in the trailer. I didn't know that she does this and goes, but she's just, Megan Thee Stallion. She's fucking hilarious, man. She's so funny.
Totally likes her. I have no idea.
Oh man, she's gas. Like I've only seen snippets. I've started following her on Instagram. I'm like, this girl's a fucking legend. Like she's really cool. And even like there's an extended clip of behind the scenes of the two of them just dancing for ages, and it's so funny. Like they're just like on the soundstage, like, yeah, is this enough? Like whatever. They're both just like doing all these extra different things. Sorry, besides the point. Yeah, so like there's an alien or Asgardian, which I guess is technically a fucking alien again. Everything Marvel is an alien, who's doing like this kind of shit. It's like it's very something like you're like, oh look, that's not a superhero character. Why the fuck do I care about them? But you're like, well, if you were reading a She-Hulk comic, and fair enough, I've only read like 2 or 3 issues of the Dan Slott run. Apparently, the John Byrne run is very similar. But even still, if it was a Spider-Man book, yeah, you'd see some fucking random shapeshifter from Asgard show up in an issue. Let me see. The Wrecking Crew show up. Very disappointed in them. Feel like they really wasted them.
Right.
They're like kind of not. They're in there for like one thing, and like they're gone in a second. Like the Wrecking Crew are class in the comics. They're essentially like 4 rhinos.
Okay.
With hardware weaponry. So like one is a crowbar. It somehow gets the power of Thor. I don't know. They're ridiculous characters, but they're so funny. Like there's a very cool issue from the New Avengers run where Wrecker, just one of them, this guy with the crowbar, shows up and he's basically fighting like Wolverine, Luke Cage, Spider-Woman, and Spider-Man, and like they can't really compete with him because he's so strong. But they're just great characters. They're kind of schmucks, like, but they're very funny. But they're kind of wasted, so that was a bit upsetting. Sorry, didn't really get to me that much, but the Abomination stuff is good, but you're kind of like, it left me in a place of like, well, like, why, like, what's happening now? Like, you're bringing him back, but he's not like, I don't know. I guess that is spoilery, but he's not like a villain, really. He's not really portrayed to be. You think he might be faking it at first, but well, it's so far like maybe they'll do something else with him again, but I know they will be doing something else with him. I won't say exactly what, but or there's something happens. Other than that, then there's like Wong shows up. There's magic shit in an episode. There's some girl who just shows up. There's this like magician who actually trained in camouflage.
Okay.
But like for a week, and he just knows how to do portals, and
Right.
he just sends this. He's doing it as a magic show, but then he's just like sending people away to portals. So like this girl called Allison. Oh shit. I think it's Allison. Shit, what's her name? Madison, I
Right.
think. But she's like, it's Madison with a two, and she says it in a very certain way. She comes across as this like real drunk kind of bimbo girl, but everybody loved her like on like Twitter. Like everyone's like, well, this girl is fucking class. But she's just like drunk all the time. She ends up like just hanging out with Wog, and then she's like, I'm watching Sopranos, and she like spoils Sopranos on him and stuff. And like, but then it just cuts them at the end. I don't know. It doesn't really make out they're being romantic or anything, but they're just like sitting there watching Sopranos. Or do they know what use sound? I think they might just use the Alabama Tree soundtrack. But like it's very lighthearted, but with all that kind of stuff, with the magic guy, with the fucking frogman, Asgardian thing, that's just, it's all very lighthearted and stuff, and it does have a little bit of course, they do show Ally McBeal on TV at one point.
Oh, I love that. I love
But
that
well, that's Marvel do that kind of thing where like they're referencing something, but then they just put the thing on the TV in the same scene, which is a bit of a pain in the hole. But her supporting characters are really good. I was talking to a guy who was like, "Oh, they hate men or whatever." I was like, "There's about 11 male characters in the show. 4 of them are portrayed negatively, and none of them are main characters. Sorry, so none of them are like big players or in that many scenes." There's like 4 that are really shown to be bad. And it does have this kind of comment on like incel culture and 4chan, Reddit kind of dudes built into it. So, but it's funny then because all that kind of crew were the ones up in arms about it.
I agree.
Sorry, so the whole point is that they build an awful lot of Marvel world, and it's the most thing I've picked up where I could be like, if you just read me, if I close my eyes and you just told me the story, I'm like, that's a comic book. Because of everything, like, they're building the world slowly, but they're operating in a built world by the MCU. And it's one of the only things that kind of really just feels like this is fucking Marvel, like in a big way. And then when Daredevil shows up, you've got Frogman in one, they're dealing with him. The 2 of them have fucking instant chemistry when they're at least in costume. It's palpable. Like, it's the whole fucking thing is like, and really, even like, it's like, there's a lot of like talk of like sexual kind of positivity. I'm not even sure what the phrase is, but like there's just some lines she drops later on that are just hilarious. You're like, fucking go, that's great. Like, but their whole chemistry, like once they're in costume together and they're talking, I don't want like, okay, they're outside this warehouse. There's just like goons inside, and that's another thing. They go to a warehouse full of goons, and it's like ironic. But they go to like in a Batman episode, they go to a place full of goons, teamed by one guy. But they're talking. He's like, "Oh, there's like 10 people in there," and then she's like, "How do you know?" It's like, "I can hear their heartbeats," and then she's like, "You can hear their heartbeats," and then it's like they're just kind of very close, and they're kind of up against the wall, and they're talking, and he goes like, "I can hear your heartbeat," and then she's just like transfixed, and then he's just like, "It's going very fast." She's like. And like she kind of holds it for a minute, but then she just goes, "No, I'm healthy. What are you on about?" And she just like walks away. But their whole like banter, their back and forth is delightful. But when they fight, so like the brief little they meet, they fight for whatever reason. She's like swinging. He's running after someone. She swings. He just drops down to the ground, and her swing carries her away from him. And then he just rolls back up and keeps running. And it's just, and he had another bit, he like lapels down a car park. Like something that I'm pretty sure wasn't there like at the end of the first season of Daredevil, he showed him running across roofs or something?
Maybe, yeah, he was using his
but yeah, they pay homages to the Daredevil as brutal as he ever was. They used the team a little bit at one point in a very fun way. He like kicks ass. And it's just fun, and then stuff happens at the end, which is also very fun. What is it? We're talking spoilers. They ride. They have sex. And it's like he does. Like I kind of feel bad because I really feel like you should watch it, but I know you're okay with spoilers. But
yeah,
like,
no, definitely.
Are you okay with me like describing scenes?
Yeah.
Going forward, okay. Daredevil then does a walk of shame the next day in costume, and he just has his boots off.
Costume.
No, but he's walking. He's whatever reason he had his boots over his shoulders, and he's just like walking down the street. It's so fucking funny, and it's just like it's so like, and then okay, the finale. Yeah, but like that whole that episode, that's what really sold it to me. It was like, this is a fucking comic book. Like when the week before it was written by a comic book writer who's writing the comic I'm reading now. it just like
It makes sense.
like I was trying to say to someone who wasn't happy with it. I was like, if they're doing this with She-Hulk, and now I've only read like 2 issues of the Dan Slott, or 2 or 3 of the Dan Slott run, but the general idea of her, and I've been aware of the stuff that happens in her comics for years. It's if they're doing She-Hulk like this, the stuff that they're going to do going forward is they're doing Spider-Man, which I even thought I saw a rumor of Spider-Man story could it could be street level, it could be tied into the Daredevil show. So whatever's there, so it could be like a Kingpin and then a team up thing, or Spider-Man could fucking appear in the Daredevil show. The X-Men, when they come in, they like so she goes to Marvel Studios. Scenes going on. There's like Hulk and Abomination. This guy's been stealing her blood. He's like turns into a Hulk guy. I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. But then she was like, oh, are we really doing this? I don't know how it changes. Do you know that shot in the trailer where it shows her just kind of getting up?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
It's like it shows her from behind. It's one of the first images you see of her. Yeah, right. But she basically, she says, "Is this really happening?" She's like, kind of critiques everything. Then next thing, bang, you're back in the Disney Plus menu, and she like busts out of her window,
right,
and then like starts looking around, and then there's like, oh, Avengers or Marvel Assembled or whatever. She kicks into that one,
right,
and then that shot that was in all the trailers, that's her landing in, well, not our reality, but the real reality. She goes to the writer's room, starts giving out about shit. Then they start talking about Kevin. They're like, no one can get near Kevin. No one can get near Kevin. She's like, that sounds really unhealthy. Then she goes into a room, like, knocks out some guards and shit, gets into Kevin.
Which is
and it's just this, like, fucking little robot guy on a fucking...
yeah,
the camera lenses are kind of made to look like a peak baseball hat. And then she's like, yeah, when are we getting the X-Men? And then she does the weirdest but cutest little face when giving a thumbs up to the camera. She, like, sticks her tongue out but, like, really closes her mouth. It just looks so funny. She's like, when are we getting the X-Men? She's like, and then she's just, like, kind of... It was so weird because, like, from doing theatre, it felt like a theatre monologue with her first.
Right.
She's talking about her character and stuff. And I know some people are like, oh, well, it still ended up the same way or whatever. But, like, she talks to Kevin about the flaws with Marvel. And I guess it's the kind of thing of like, oh, look, they're just shining a light on it, but they're not changing anything about it. She said something about smashing, and then she goes, Bruce smashes. He smashes buildings, and then she's like, I smash the fourth wall. And then she kind of just goes, and sometimes Matt Murdock.
Matt Murdock.
And then I can't even remember, like, after all that, I was just blown away by all that, like, because I was taken in the moment. It was well done. I know some people were like, oh, well, she only breaks the wall a couple of times. I was like, yeah, but she's not going to do this every fucking episode. Like, what do you think? Like, and like, I can't just, like, even other guys were like, oh, well, they could have led to believe that maybe she would. And I was like, well, no, because, like, then it's not such a right, like, people are like, oh, it's a real right turn. I was like, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
Impact.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, just like, I'm sorry I've told you about it, but I didn't better if you watched it.
You've made me want to watch it. I wasn't fussed.
Yeah.
You have made me.
You won't have many surprises, but it's still I'd be very surprised if you watched it and didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Was there one other thing? She kind of then just goes, oh, what was the other line? Now, with this point, I feel like I'm telling you blow by blow. So
no, I'm enjoying it.
Okay. This takes me back to my days when I was a kid. One of my childhood friends used to say, like, they never read comics, but used to love when I told comic book stories because I think I just put the right emphasis, the right points. But, like, again, this is something that I don't really need to do because this kind of does that thing that I used to try and do with my friends who had no interest in reading comic books. I was like, just trying to tell them the stories as good as I could.
That's cool.
Because it's like a fucking comic. So this is probably something really stupid now, and I'm not even gonna. Well, no, it kind of is and it isn't. So then she's kind of. I can't even remember what the whole point of it is. He said something like, "Oh yeah, we fixed this so you can't do this again" or whatever. And I can't even remember what their main discussion is. But they say something. So that's the thing. They kind of say something about Hulk, and then he's like, "Oh, that'll be addressed in the movie." And then I was like, what? And then she's like, "Oh, I'm in the movie." He's like, "No." But I think he said something. Someone said that's the way it played out, but I'm sure he said something to her that led on to believe that there's going to be some movie, a Hulk movie anyway. And speaking of X-Men again, like the week before, actually, one thing I won't. There's no point saying. I'll let you watch it because it's just. Everything I've said. There's no point me telling you this. It's interesting change. And I haven't actually touched on it yet, so you still have some surprises to go into. But like, so there's a newspaper article in like the fourth episode. They're on a page, and like just someone freeze framed it, obviously, and it's like man with knives in hands, fucking bar fight. Yeah. So, but then like her friend comes over to her house to do her makeup, and then her friend just kind of like jumps out the doorway with like fucking whatever eyeliner, blah 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 blah, like
her knuckles,
with wrinkles, and she just goes
right
like that. And she doesn't really say anything. She doesn't say like I'm Wolverine, but like it's like clearly she's just imitating, and also that probably timed in along with the time of which we'll get back to in a bit, but Hugh Jackman's fucking announcement, or the announcement of Hugh Jackman in Deadpool 3. So like it kind of like, I don't know, there's a bit of change.
Also, the Wolverine was introduced in the Incredible Hulk comic, so I guess that's calling back to Wolverine being introduced in She-Hulk. That's kind of parallel.
Yeah. What was it? I think it was a specific point to that. At the very end, she was just like, okay, I don't want any of this to happen. I don't want a big fight with whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, so basically, she just revolves, like, certain things in the plot that were built up. One thing I heard people say, I was like, yeah, because that kind of makes sense. Is like, they're building up to certain plot points in the show, but then she's like, look, no, I just don't want to do that. Like, so it's just kind of like, and then she's like, oh, I'd like to see Matt Murdock again, or I want to see Daredevil again. Woman's got needs. And that's the thing, I'm like, ooh, you're so daring. I was just like, yes, I'm in favor of this. It's just like unexpected, but it's kind of like, ooh, that's very risque kind of thing. I feel a little bit prudish. So I'm like, or just like liberated or whatever. But then like, she goes back and is like, I don't want this to be in nighttime, I want this to be in daytime, and then daytime, and then she's like, and then whenever she's talking to the people and the light bit of resolving the story that I didn't really care about anyway, but like, no, you care about it when you're watching it, but I was like, whatever they're doing is fucking great here. I just kept going like, oh, I think nearly every episode I'd shout laughing at my TV show, at my screen, like nearly every week I was just like, fuck yes, this is funny. So then like they're back, they kind of resolve things, and I think Daredevil just drops down out of the sky. But it's like it's daytime and he's in the middle of the street, like, so it makes no sense. Right. And they kind of talk. I think like so Tatiana is the actress who is fucking amazing. Titania is the one played by who used to be an English journal, like kind of pop TV. Jamila, yeah. So like it's
is she the villain, sort of?
I was expecting to see more of her. Right. She gets to like an episode and two episodes. Maybe she shows up at the very end of the first episode, but it's cut really quick. You're like, well, that felt a bit strange. Right. But then she shows up like maybe once or twice more, but she like gets a full episode. But it's not like she shows up in the finale, but it's just like not much. I think she's even like, okay, because there's not to get too much into it, there's an incel kind of group in this, and I think she's even like when she shows up, she's not even fighting Jen. Like she's just like within the story before they drop all the big finale thing. I don't even think she's like she probably showed up to get Jen, but then it's just a load of fucking incel dudes. So she's like, well, fuck you guys. So she's kind of like, she doesn't really fight with her again. Like it's not, and their kind of fight thing is like it's just played off quite well. But then it's just like cuts back to her. She's back with her family having dinner and stuff, and like Matt's there and he's in his costume and like they're apparently dating now. So I was like,
Karen's done. Karen Page is...
Karen's gone. Yeah, there's no.
I don't know. Like, how did that end in the show?
Don't remember.
I think they kind of broke up. I
don't remember.
Yeah. Well, he's a
free agent,
I guess. Yeah. Well, maybe she is. Like I don't know. Like that's kind of Daredevil. I was trying to say this to one of my mates.
There's no reference to Karen or Foggy in this. I take it. There's no reference to.
No, his own practice is probably the only thing they mention.
Right.
They say that he's in Hell's Kitchen. Well, he's obviously single at this point.
Yeah.
He got her on the show too, though. Like, didn't he? Like, he wasn't always with her. He's with other characters in the show.
Yeah, but did not get with Rosario Dawson at some point.
Aye, the night nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was she like? Where was Karen at that point? Like, were they together? Were they not
I think
together?
it was a kind of will they won't they thing for a while with Karen, and then I don't know.
Oh, he's gone clear. So yeah, then they're just like having around dinner and like being cutesy. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. They're just like like her parents are like grilling them about. Oh, her dad is played by a guy who I know kind of to see, but he's like from an American sitcom that I've never seen, but I know him as an actor to see.
Right.
He's quite good. But fucking. I said, but fucking.
You did.
I've said that in my own life. I've said that in my. I must have said those two words together like that in my life.
Oh,
I'm not saying that happens in the show.
Laughing at
I'm not saying that happens in the show. Oh my god. I feel compelled to say it again, but fucking. That's a lesson never to say that again. But I probably will because whatever. I'm compelled to say it. No. So they're having like dinner and like it's her family's there. So her family are obviously Bruce's family, and Bruce does show up out of the sky also too, and like hey, because so Abomination is technically reformed.
Okay. Wait, sorry. Do we find out what's going on with the whole Wong keeping him as a sort of fight slave, like Shang-Chi?
That's in that episode,
right?
So that's their thing is resolved, like pretty much. But he shows. I can't remember why he shows up again. So like there's a mini court case for him,
okay,
and that's kind of finished. But then there's a whole episode where she just like goes like, so he's running this like Buddhist retreat place, and she just goes there and like
Tim Roth is.
That's where. Yeah,
oh wow!
But it's all this kind of like she gets there and it's like one of the wrecking crew who attacked her is there and like two other characters I think I was mentioning before who are mutants in the Marvel comics. They're not mentioned. I think even one of them specifically says he isn't a mutant in this. But she basically just goes up and goes like a group therapy thing with a load of like villains or
reforms.
Like,
yeah.
But it's all goofy. Like there's like I think it's goat guy or bull guy or whatever, a chicken guy or something. No, he's a bull because the other guy is kind of like they're saying, I'm not actually a minotaur. I don't mean to be racially insensitive. No, I think he is Spanish, but he's like I know it's kind of ironic that he's a bull, and but it's kind of like it's, and then they're just like talking. But it's actually like that's the episode written by Zeb Wells, and that's the one where it's like it's actually really good. Fucking focus on this camera. This is actually really good character development and interactions and stuff. Let me think. That's kind of it for that. But then, sorry, the point is that so Abomination is like
there was a point being made.
Blonsky, Blonsky was released, but a part of his release is that he doesn't turn into Abomination, and then. She goes to this thing, and there's another event there at his basically Buddhist retreat place, but ties into something else. But he's fucking Abomination. But like, before they break everything down, he's only doing it to do it as a speaker in an event. He's not actually like an evil eating people. Like when he's Blonsky, he's the exact same as he is. Or when he's Abomination, he's Blonsky. Like he's completely the exact same, not overly angry or anything like that. But even at that point. He tried to help her, and then Hulk thinks that he's attacking him in this story that they abandoned straight away. So Hulk just goes up and hits him a slap, and then, but Blonsky's like, "Oh, you don't understand," in his very English accent. But fucking, sorry. So that's pretty much it. But it's great. Oh yeah. So then Hulk shows up at the very end, and in my head I'm like. Oh my God, Hulk is 10 feet away from Daredevil. And then he's like, hey, I've got a son. And then like he just kind of moves to the side and then you see a son. Which, I know they're probably going to explain it, but Hulk was Hulk all the time in Sakaar and had the mental capacity of a 2-year-old.
So he has no memory of any of that, right?
But also, who was he having sex with as a 2-year-old?
He was a big buff green guy. I get it.
I guess. Maybe.
From that, do you think that's where they're going? Are they going into World War Hulk, or are they going into what do you think this construes
Is
going
more
forward?
Hulk?
Well, the fact that Kevin, who is like they do it like Hal, he's
Right.
K.E.E.
Yeah.
He says something. I can't. I have to watch it again, but he says something like that'll be addressed in the movie or something like that.
Right. Cool. I like that, man.
Or she's like, oh no. Or I think she might say something. Or I can't remember how it's played, but then I think someone said she's like, oh, I'm going to be in the movie. He's like, no, he's only fucking with her. I think he's only fucking. But it would have been so funny if it was like someone's going to mention if it was actually Kevin Feige in a big choreographed fight scene with her or something. It's done very well. Man, I honestly like. Again, just to finish, I think it's the most comic booky, the most thing that you could pick up and feel like you're reading an actual Marvel comic book. To everything, because the world where it's built, the type of stories that are told. Yeah, it's very lighthearted for most of it, but it's building that fucking world and it's operating in a built world. And like the Marvel world has been built for a while now, but they haven't really been. They only kind of behave like it every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't have the. Marvel needs not only the human interaction with the superheroes, but. Mm-hmm. The more familiar, like it's getting there, but like look, I actually think this is like the goalpost has been moved. It's there now. This is the kind of awareness Marvel has. We're at a point where it's the same storytelling as the comics, and I think this phase being so misaligned by that's the right word, but some people have so many issues with this phase. Fuck it, they had to kind of let the dust settle after Infinity Gauntlet. Try some new stuff. Look, it's worked for them before. To try some new stuff and like maybe not everything worked to everything like in here, but or Love and Thunder and such and Multiverse of Madness, but I'm much happier we had the missteps there with those characters, so that until we're getting the X-Men and getting Secret Wars and getting more street level Spider-Man, I'll let them fucking take the first hits. And now, like I was saying to someone, Spider-Man and X-Men are Marvel's flagship titles before all of this Avengers stuff. In the 90s they couldn't sell Fantastic Four, Avengers, or I don't know. Well, probably did all right, but it was Spider-Man and X-Men. That's what Marvel really fucking is. If you put it like obviously the other characters are part of it, but they're the big boys. Like, so yeah, this has been great.
First of all, from talking about moving the goalposts, I think that was the best moment of the podcast. I'm going to give that a round of applause. I love that. Jared's recollections of She-Hulk was besides that
sold me on it though.
That was great. I loved every moment of that.
So that's good.
But yeah, what you were saying about the sort of going forward of it, I feel like She-Hulk might work as somewhat of a palate cleanser for some folk like me who are struggling somewhat with Phase 4. I think She-Hulk could be a nice palate cleanser, and then also Black Panther, the sequel, is topping it off. So I guess a nice comedy, parody, break the fourth wall series, and then back to the kind of series stuff with Black Panther, the kind of weighty loss of Chadwick Boseman and all the kind of weight and gravity that film's going to have, and then boom, we're in a new phase. I think that might work as quite a good kind of palate cleanser for folk that struggled with Love and Thunder and Miss Marvel and things like that, that here's a dumb show, this is a dumb universe for it's funny, it's parody, and hey, we can also do the series kind of funeral sequence for Chadwick Boseman, and we can also honor that shit, and then we can go forward and do, like you're saying, bigger things with Secret Wars. So structurally, I think from what you've described, it kind of makes sense to put this at this point in the sort of structure of Marvel. So that's cool.
Yeah, like I've been saying, like I have a friend who's a big Daredevil fan. And I'm like, just fucking. He's like, oh, I'm watching Moon Knight. I was like, just fucking skip it. I was like, just like, watch She-Hulk now. Enjoy She-Hulk more.
Moon Knight was great at the start and absolutely lost its way by the end.
But
seeing this in comparison
episode on that, which means Jared did, which you can I'll link below, maybe if I remember.
The comparison to all the shows now, this is the one that actually kind of like feels like a show. Also,
right.
Like it's
like
just,
it
feels more like say like it not exactly like look it's a little bit whatever, but it's got a little bit of that like Parks and Recs to it. Like it's
it's quick.
It's short. It's not like
Fast-paced.
every fucking thing is so serious. And
Yeah.
now we've just
But you need
interesting.
that. I think it's all
Yeah.
about balance. Personally, you know,
That's
you can
good
have your
pacing, though.
dark Frank Miller inspired great stories, but you can also have your dumb.
Yeah.
The Marvel universe at this point is its own genre. I mean, look at Werewolf by Night. That's a classic horror movie, really, within the Marvel universe. It can do. You know, Winter Soldier was an espionage movie. I know that Jared doesn't 100% agree with that analogy, but the point is they can do subgenres within the universe, you know, and that's fine. And I think that's what they should do because it keeps things fresh. And we've had the whole superhero grandiose story with the Infinity Saga. At this point, I'm happy for them to try different shit with different shows. WandaVision was a sitcom series and it nailed that. So, yeah. Chris,
And like,
sorry, on you go.
Sorry, just I just got blank now. What were the other thing though? I think so. Like Werewolf by Night is a big part of what I'm like super fucking psyched for Marvel now. I guess obviously, of course, the fucking Deadpool 3 news. But
to be fair, you weren't on last week when we spoke about Hugh Jackman, so you haven't actually had a chance to speak about that. To be fair,
yeah, definitely.
a couple of things to say about Hugh Jackman. Teaser.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But
it's not deal that. Jesus Christ.
Oh,
fuck,
I know.
yeah.
Jesus.
Right, I'm going to ask you like.
Sorry, just last thing. Werewolf by Night is a better example of. Well, it's not even a superhero thing. This is a fucking werewolf. It's a bit of a superhero thing at the end. That's why I think I still kind of feel like Winter Soldier. It's a good superhero film, but it's not like it's about fucking 10% an espionage film, really. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, Chris,
Yeah.
you have put in your what you've been watching that you've watched the.
I can't follow that. Like,
listen, I was going to preface it with give me your thoughts on the Lord of the Rings of Power finale, but keep it a bit briefer than that because I want to go to my bed at some point. But in terms of this show, I didn't even realise this was the finale, so. That shows you how out of the loop I am. Chris, how was it? How did it wrap up? And what do you think of the series as a whole?
Right.
I'm going to grab another beer, but I'm listening.
To give an overall view, right? If you've not seen this or heard about it, whatever, it's basically a sequel to the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy, but it's not set in Peter Jackson's universe, so it's not touching the characters that they've used, like Ian McKellen and all that. They are separate.
So is that a sequel to the books?
It's I think it's like
it's a totally different timeline, right?
It's a totally different timeline, but Tolkien wrote like kind of short stories that they've basically meshed them all up together to make a massive 5-season.
Is that what this is going to be? 5 seasons?
Apparently, I was surprised it survived like just like 2 episodes.
Right, God. So. Comparing it to other series that came out this year, the other kind of series that's had its ups and downs for me has been Obi-Wan Kenobi. Is it that vibe, or is it like?
Oh God, no! Obi-Wan Kenobi is like the epitome of TV. If you're comparing it to this,
right? Wow.
Jesus.
Okay. Jesus.
Why? Like I am a massive fan of the Lord of the Rings kind of like world, and what they took 6 episodes, 6 hours. To kind of build the kind of world, and it's only an 8-episode series. So the last 2 were really good.
Right.
The last episodes were really good.
Right.
But the 6-hour slog is so much. It's too difficult for somebody. Like, see if somebody just wanted to jump in like yourself, or even Jared. I would struggle with you to even get past the first episode.
I remember you saying that the first 4 in particular are like the hardest.
That was like 4. That was 4 weeks ago. And the 5th one, the 5th one was worse. 6th one was terrible.
Do you know what that's like? See, when somebody recommends like Final Fantasy games, and they're like, "Yeah, see if you get past the first 10 hours, it gets really good." And you're like, "I'm not going to play 10 hours of a boring game." Like, no, that's what that sounds like.
Like the main show, like, if you don't know anything about it, it's if you know the Lord of the Rings film, see Galadriel, it's played by Cate Blanchett in the original.
I know Cate Blanchett.
She's the main. Her character's the main like character in this TV show.
Okay.
And she's just not likable.
Is that the writer's fault or the actor's fault?
It's definitely the writers. The writers are like there's literally a line in the last episode that it's like a character who says, "I am good."
Oh, that's not good dialogue.
he's
Even out of
like
context,
facing,
that's horrible.
he's like facing like say three wizards, right?
Mm.
And he stands up, and there's like dramatic music playing, and he just shouts out, "I am."
Do you know what that sounds like? That sounds like a line from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where they're like parodying dramatic scenes. Do you know what I mean? That yeah.
It's like a slow zoom up to the guy's face, and he's like, "I am good." And then it's
In what, like, just in general, or
That-
like, is he?
Do you want to draw
rating
this
his
blunt, mate?
boreality?
No, I'm good.
no, it's like, I am here, boys.
I'm good, mate.
No, I think it was more like he was kind of getting taunted that he was an evil person in the show, and he basically was talking to like a wee hobbit person, saying, and she was convincing him that he's a goodie, and
Right.
it was just the way he stood up and he was like,
I am a goodie.
I'm a goodie.
You might as
I'm a
well have
goodie.
wrote that.
I was like,
You might as
I'm a
well.
goodie. Fuck you. You're a baddie. I'm a goodie.
That's what it was. I was like, this is
Oh,
like
that
a
is-
half a
and that's-
million
Yeah,
show.
Yeah, the budget. Like
It's
those
like,
writers
what's
must
the
have made a
quality?
fortune for
Crazy,
that.
yeah.
The line of dialogue.
Oh, but
Aren't
it was.
aren't the hobbits like have really bad Irish accents?
Oh yeah,
really?
like see the Hobbit. Like this is that like see the Hobbit films.
Mm.
I don't know about you if you've watched it,
I heard about
but
shit.
it was kind of shit compared to Lord of the Rings.
Mm.
But man, it's a masterpiece compared to
Jesus.
Wow.
the TV show.
Some people really like it though, no?
Yeah, like some people are really. Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. Like it is
Right. Visually.
to look at.
Yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous. They've got the armor, the costumes, the art department are amazing. In this.
Right.
It really suffers the whole dialogue and this. See, when you were talking about Space and Judd with the She-Hulk film, it felt like a comic. It felt quick. It felt enjoyable.
Mm.
The pacing of this was awful. It took 6 episodes to get to the 6 hours to get to the main chunk of what the whole story was about.
Yeah.
Plus, you could kind of, you can kind of see when like a character gets introduced, you're like, oh, he's who he is. So he's like Sauron in the first episode. You're like, I know who he is, and it kind of drags on 6 episodes, saying, oh, hinting, like try to hide the fact that he's Sauron, and you already know it. It's like they revealed something really too early.
Yeah. Is he the
So-
stranger guy?
Yeah, he's a stranger guy. Halbrand, I believe, isn't it? Is it Halbrand?
So he could be. But Sauron is the fucking demony guy with all the armor, isn't he?
He's
like
he's the
decepting
dark
them.
elf. Yeah, so and also like he kind of done it well. Like I was thinking in my mind that he's not going to be Sauron, but then he dropped like a line in this last episode. Like,
I am Sauron.
he said like it might have been, it should have been that, because he said, oh, here's a gift. And I think the kind of the sub name for Sauron's like the gift giver and stuff like that and things like that.
Oh.
The giver of gifts. So he
Right.
gives
So he's
people
Santa.
gifts. Yeah, so he gave her a gift.
She gets a bad rap.
But
Yeah.
this whole show is fucking a bad rap, man.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
it's
given
like
the choice, Chris, more Lord of the Rings, or they shouldn't have bothered. Where are you on that scale? Are you glad this happened, or would you rather just leave it alone?
do you know what, man? I'm so invested in it right now. I'm like, oh, like, I've like wasted 8 hours of my life.
Do you feel like Lord of the Rings as a franchise and as a legacy is being diminished? Because you
It's been
said,
damaged.
well,
It's
you said that
definitely been
also you love the
damaged.
Peter Jackson trilogy. The Hobbit movies were worse in comparison, and this is worse again. So in your mind, is it
Yeah.
just being degraded for cash, or
It's do you know what it is? It's the name. Like they realized that it was like a $1 billion franchise with Peter Jackson,
Hmm.
and now they're just really
Like,
dragging
those
it out.
movies won
It's-
crazy Oscars, and now
like multiple.
that's, as you're saying, it's in a state, like it's in a sorry
I'll be
state.
surprised if this even gets one of those bogey awards. You know, like
The Razzies.
the Razzies. I'm surprised. I don't even think they'll waste their time putting that on a wee crappy plastic award for them. Like, it's
Wow.
that, the one thing it really shined in it was the Elrond and the I was gonna say Gimli, but the kind of dwarf
So
partnership.
the what
That was the saving grace for it.
the
but
the
everything
one
else-
thing that that I heard was great was who was Hugo Weaving's character? Is that who you just mentioned there?
No, Hugo Weaving.
Was his
That's
character
Aragorn, isn't it?
was his character in this
No.
not quite good? No,
Who's Hugo Weaving? I'm talking.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Anderson.
Miss-
No,
Oh,
he's not
yeah,
Mr.
that's
Anderson,
that's
but he's-
Elrond.
right.
Sorry,
But-
yeah,
so
yeah.
Elrond was
That's
quite
Elrond.
good, right? In this,
Elrond was good.
Right.
Elrond was good.
right? Okay.
And he was in the beginning. I was like, oh, that's not Hugo. Like it's like comparing him to him. It's like, nah, it's not him. But
Do you know what I was just going to? Do you
highlight.
want to know how out of the touch with like fantasy stuff I am? Do you know what I was just going to ask you? I was going to ask you, how's Paddy Constantine in it? But then I remembered, no, Paddy Constantine's in Game of Thrones, which is a different fantasy. So I've not got a clue.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think George R. R. Martin thinks of Lord of the Rings? Like,
oh, he's probably laughing to the bank, man. It's like, oh,
at
like,
least Game of Thrones is apparently good again, for what I've heard. Yeah.
I watched. I've not kept up with it, but I just wanted to compare. Like, I didn't want to watch Game of Thrones because I knew it would be good. So I was like, right, I'm going to watch.
So I'm going to watch the shit one. I hate.
I don't watch that. It's good. It's good.
I was like, it's too unfair to give this like a comparison. So I watched 4 episodes of the Lord of the Rings, and then watched the first episode of Game of Thrones, and the amount of storytelling you got in that 50-minute show,
is it night and
you
day?
got zero storytelling. It was literally just a visual landscape that you were trying to go all around, and it's like, I mean, that's good for the first 10 minutes, but there's no grit here, and the fact that Game of Thrones were able to kind of introduce characters, brand new characters, backstory, the reason for existing, and the kind of feuds between them perfectly. And there was slow motion. Oh my god, there was there was.
Wait,
slow
that sounds
motion
like Zack Snyder. It sounds like Zack Snyder. You've got beautiful visuals, slow motion, and shitty dialogue.
Oh,
that sounds like Zack Snyder in a nutshell.
They used Zack Snyder used slow motion. All right, there was like a good full minute of just slow motion of somebody riding a horse, and and the lassie was smiling, and it was not a pretty fit.
To be fair,
was just like
I liked Zack Snyder's Justice League, but he did include a scene of Amy Adams getting a coffee in the rain in slow motion for no reason.
It was like that, yeah.
Right.
It was like, why are you like this show's dragged out as much as it can. You can't.
That show's long enough. I've got shit to do.
Another 10 minutes of just slow motion.
Speed times 3. You're like, come on, aye.
That's one of the shows that I've noticed. I have been like watching other things, and it's like, or like reading my emails or doing something,
doing other stuff,
and I'm like
watching another show while
I was watching Game of Thrones, like let's see what's happening. Like, but like it's so weird how that was the first show I realised that I'm counting out and watching and doing something else while that's in the background, and it's Lord of the Rings.
It should be
epic, that you're just kind of cut out for it.
Yeah, totally. Special
I would get a 3 out of 10.
Wow.
3 out of 10. Wow. But like, I'm no hating on it. Like, there's so much hate on it. Like, it's just the actors were shite or anything. I think the actors were good. It was just the actual writing. It's all to do with the writers. So I think they tried to kind of pretend they knew what they're talking about, and they've just destroyed whatever they've done. Yeah, I think they looked at. We've got 5. I think the idea was they proposed 5 seasons, and they're saying, right, we've got 5 seasons to do this. Let's not explain anything in season 1, and let's leave it to season 2 for somebody to kind of understand what's going on. So, yeah. But yeah, give it a shot if you want to waste 8 hours.
Unlike how Jared sold me on She-Hulk, you have not sold me on this show whatsoever. You've done the opposite.
I don't want to. I don't want to.
Okay.
Well, it's as good as a recommendation. It is. So don't go. I've been there. Don't go there. Shite.
As a warning for others to follow.
Avoid.
Do not pass.
I know.
This line to watch this over here.
The show. Right. Delete the link.
But before we get into the topic, I'm just going to touch on what I've been doing. All I've been doing recently, Jared had a wee sort of stab at me earlier for not seeing She-Hulk. The reason I've not watched shit on the TV other than Werewolf by Night is because I've been swamped under with games. Now, I know people in the comments are going to be like, mate, crime or ever, you're getting sent free video games and you're having to play them and write about video games all day. Boo, fucking who, right? But it's been great. If you're not keeping up to date with what I've been doing, which why would you? Fandom Wire has launched their sort of gaming branch of their website, and I've been lucky enough to kind of head it up, and I've been receiving all these emails from developers sending me codes. It's been great. Everybody's been really nice. I've had nice back and forward chats with folk. The first game I reviewed is now live on Fandom Wire. I'll link that below. It was called Cultic, CULCIT, TIT. TIC. Cultic.
TIC.
Yeah, Cultic was great. It was a sort of boomer shooter inspired by like Doom and Quake and that
Yeah,
sort of
early
retro
Doom.
era of first-person shooters. It was creepy at points. It was fun, satisfying, crunchy, retro, nostalgic.
Crunchy.
It was like see the
Crunchy.
kills, just that getting a headshot just had that satisfying crunch to it. You know, seeing the
Cool.
zombies' heads explode, and it just felt
Zombies.
like an old-fashioned, first-person shooter. Yeah, you're fighting cult members, you're fighting zombies, you're fighting undead kind of beast creatures.
Cool.
One of those games that when you first look at it, you're like, "Oh, this is ugly. It's all horrible pixel art," and then couple hours out of the game, they start playing with the use of light, and you're seeing the moon and these zombies creatures and just the silhouettes coming towards you. And even though it's just really simple, like 16-bit graphics in 3D, it looks beautiful, And then,
It's lovely.
then the sky opens up and a big lightning bolt comes out of it to spawn more creatures, and you're like, "Oh my god, this looks incredible!" Like it's one of those
Check that
games
out.
that's kind of deceiving. At first, you're like, "Oh, this is super simple and basic," and then what they do with those simple, basic fundamentals is really impressive. Spoilers for my review: I gave it a 9 out of 10, which is a very high
it was
score
really
for
good.
me. Also,
Exactly.
shout out to Jason Smith, the solo developer of this game. One guy developed this.
Get the fuck out.
It's his first game. I think he's worked with some other studios over the years, but this is his first independent game. And it was great to review it. I am also being lucky enough to interview Jason, so an interview will be going live soon on my Twitter feed at danboy95 if you want to follow me. It's a written interview, and yes, other than that, I have been playing PC Building Simulator 2, a total departure from crunchy first-person shooters. PC Building Simulator 1 was a game about, guess what, building a PC. But it was
Oh, right. I thought you were, like, when I seen your notes for our Google document,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's building a PC.
No,
No.
it's right. I'm going to get.
Well,
it's going to come in handy because see this back here. This was bought on Black Friday 2021, so this has been lying here for almost a year. This is a all-in-one water cooler and some fans and a SSD and something else is there too. So I've been meaning, because I've been moving in and doing up the house and stuff, I've not had a chance to put all that shit in my PC yet. PC Building Simulator 2 dropped at the ideal time because guess what? They've worked with like actual PC component designers, companies like Zotac and MSI and Corsair and all these brands. So all the real shit that you can buy for your PC is in this game.
Is modelled.
Yes,
Oh,
it's 3D
that's
modelled.
amazing.
You get given, so the story mode has like a task thing where you send emails and it's like, right, my hard drive's broken, can you replace it for me? My graphics card's not working, can you get my new
That's
one?
so sad.
You have to like source parts. It's honestly, the level of detail was insane. You have to unscrew the parts of the case before you can like do shit. It's crazy. It's amazing. The amount of range of cases you've got glass built cases, you've got solid built cases, you've got retro machines from like guys that have had their machines for years. It's super immersive in terms of simulation. They've nailed it. Like I said,
Nice.
Cooler Master, Corsair, all these kind of big brands. Because I'm a PC kind of geek, I'm enjoying it. Also, because I've to put these parts of my PC, it's a nice practice run for me to see if anything will actually fit.
Fingers crossed.
Wire management and stuff. So yeah, I'm loving it. That review will be going live probably this coming week. So maybe by the time you hear this podcast. So yeah,
did you use the components that you have behind you to make?
They're in the
PC?
game. They're in the game.
Did you do it?
I'm not going to lie, I've not got to that yet. I've been playing story mode, which is really good. After this podcast, I think I might you get story mode and you've got free build mode. And free build mode is just, you can have any part, there's no cost, you just pick your case and you can build the beastiest machine you want, or you can build, what's really cool, I've seen some people doing is like they get a retro case, like I just spilled my beer.
It's on your table and you're ruining your PC.
I'm going to finish this chat though. That old grey and black look with the yellow mustard wires, but a really beasting graphics card and stuff in it. So yeah, it's been nice. I'm going to stop this podcast right now because I just spilled my beer. Although I was going to do that anyway because I feel like we should do the New York.
Spill your beer.
No, split the podcast because I feel like we should do the New York stuff in a separate bonus episode. Because going for
I think
the
New York thing is a special thing in itself.
I'm going to wrap this now. Thanks for joining us, lads. Thanks for watching. Give us a subscribe and a like and share if you enjoy.
Like, comment, play us in the background
Hurry
on
up, because
YouTube.
it's so correct my joggies.
Watch
Bed on
us
your
in the
phone.
morning,
Which is really
watch
wet.
us.
Yeah, so this will be this is episode 22 of the Pop Shop podcast. Join us a few days after this, I guess, when the upload schedule happens, for our adventures in New York with Jared. That's going to be immediately following this recorded, but you'll hear it in a few days. Cheers, folks. All the best. Catch.